On my full-time Seattle residency to about 19.00 years of age, approximately 1992, 1993 to 2012. Today is Thursday, 25 June 2026 AD, and here I, Tanis, she, her, hers of Seattle, god of Hades, as in my god is Hades, reflect on what it was like living full-time in Seattle uninterrupted. So once in Seattle, I stayed in Seattle to about 19.00 years of age, approximately 1992, 1993 to 2012. And so once in Seattle, like I'm specifying perhaps outside the womb. So whether I was birthed here or elsewhere, it could apply. Once in Seattle, outside the womb, I stayed in Seattle to about 19.00 years of age. So in videos on this channel, I have returned / visited a number of places from these about 19.00 years. Yeah, so part of my growth and development of this YouTube channel has been including you guys as best I can after the fact. So like going to places, making talking points relevant to kind of filling in some of the backstory about the places for myself, that kind of thing. So it's been a conscious pursuit of mine in the development of content on this YouTube channel. So, and then working with birth dates of 26 August 1992 or 26 February 1993 for myself. I'm going to go through the, like, what the corresponding first kind of would be. So if I was, so I'm going to go through locations because I've brought up like 4 locations. So total. So it was like in adopted and not adopted and adopted. So I was raised, I had, my parents, the people who raised me have not told me I'm adopted, but I'm sleuthing and I might have been adopted. And some of you are like, you're adopted. So I'm like, okay. So if I'm adopted, I like, and they don't want to tell me, so they're not going to be the ones to tell me, then I'm waiting for my my non-adopted parents. I'm waiting for my adopted parents to tell me. No, they're saying, we're not going to tell you. So then my real father, my mother died in childbirth, gets to be the one to tell me. And that might be what's going on. Okay, so here we go. Working with birth dates of 26 August 1992 or 26 February 1993 for myself. If I was born in North Seattle, not adopted, then I lived in Seattle for approximately the first 19 of 19 years of my life. I was raised with this one. Okay, so that was what I was raised, being told and informed. It's true. Okay. So if I was born in Bergen, Norway, not adopted, and moved to Seattle a few days later, then I lived in Seattle for approximately the first 19 of 19 years of my life. There's that one. If I was born in Bergen, Norway, and moved to North Seattle at about 3 months of age, then I lived in Seattle for approximately the first 19 of 19 years of my life. If I was born in Adelaide, Australia, and moved to North Seattle at about 3 months of age, then I lived in Seattle for approximately the first 19 of 19 years of my life. If I was born in South Seattle and moved to North Seattle at about 3 months of age, then I lived in Seattle for approximately the first 19 of 19 years of my life. So which even if it's 3 months, there's what, 18 point some years of those 19 that or Seattle. So if it was somewhere other than Seattle. And so this is why my signature, Tanis, she, her, hers of Seattle, you guys might see in the video description for my videos, and I might say out loud, remains of Seattle. So the of Seattle part doesn't change no matter the birthplace, because I was raised here to adulthood. Approximately 19 of 19 years. So, like I became an adult in Seattle, and if, at most 3 months of that was spent away as that's the vast majority to entirety of my childhood. Okay. So that thing doesn't change. Okay. Perhaps if I am 1/4 Native American, I can bring in some invasives consensually, like my Papa Gillespie and my soulmates if they were born outside the United States of America. They get to stay because they get this 1/4 Native American's permission. Yeah, so if I'm a 1/4 Native American, can I do that? I'm like, bring them in. I'm like, there's the invasives who've come and who haven't gotten approval. Am I allowed to give approval? Is 1/4 enough to be like, I can give approval? Including to like the people I want to bring in? Like, my Papa Gillespie, my Papa Craig Gillespie, and my soulmates, stuff like that. So that's something I've thought about. And then someone else named Tanis Leonhardi moving to Seattle later in life, who says after this video was filmed, and who tries to blur their life with my accomplishment would be a cheater. Especially if we were about the same age. So if somebody like deliberately is like, yeah, but maybe I'm Tanis Shearers of Seattle and was raised here, or, you know, blurs the line. So it goes like, I'm Tanis Shearers of Seattle, and they weren't raised here. They don't have history, but they want to, like, you know, if I went to a certain movie theater or ate at a certain restaurant, then they like go, I'm Tanis Shearers of Seattle, and then goes there to kind of like blur the line. I consider that cheating. Like, no. Like, at the very least, it's being dishonest. So, not everybody's an honest person. I try to be, which is why I provided so many scenarios. But kind of, no matter that, that is all my Seattle, my full-time Seattle residency to about 19.00 years of age, approximately 1992, 1993 to 2000.